experiencing so much change and I guess transformation in my life that I have to honestly say there are periods where I have no clue to who I am at all. My memory is dissipating. I'm often not sure exactly where I am, although I know I'm here. I don't always know where that is. Not that it matters. It is a cosmic space for me more than a material space. It is a place of support, sometimes of comfort. There is no solidity. Things are moving in very big ways, both internally as a person and planetarily as a cosmic space in which we are all one force. I feel at times exceedingly well connected to something vast and great and beautiful. And when I sit with you as a teacher, it pours through, and it has a transformative capacity and urge to enter into you and to carry you on the journey that I seem to be on. A journey in which you cannot tell the boundaries between you and whatever you want to call the what is. I will tell you, it is not always comfortable. I think I've alluded to that for the last series of months because the dissolution process is so strange and so ungrounded, and I feel not knowing where I belong exactly in time and space, and that the time and space that I know is being shifted and I am being moved into another space, which I do not personally understand, but I feel life is acting on me in a very big way. And when I sit with you and teach, I feel those forces which are acting on me are now acting on you as well. I don't know what to call them other than love and preparation. Preparing you for the next thing which appears to be transformative. You can go yes or no. But you guys keep showing up here, and if you show up, you will be flooded with enough energy, support, and direction to carry you where you need to go and to have you be able to help other people on that journey. Because we are all in a process of transformative upheaval, if you will, moving into something we do not know, which is in a way a description of life itself, of day-to-day life, except the day-to-day norm is that we know where we are. We can point to a map, we can point to a house, we can point to a place on the freeway, we can point to a city, we can point to all these things and go, this is where I am. But if you let go of the boundaries of knowledge and of placing yourself somewhere, you really do realize you don't have a clue. We are in the middle of a vast cosmological reality. This planet is a tiny little spot on which this enormity of knowing, of awareness, of consciousness has come to, in a sense, witness itself. Bless you. I can't explain it. I used to explain it very well, but I have lost all ability to clarify for you what this is, other than to testify, as every one of us does, that it is. That's the thing we know. It is, and we are that. We are the isness of this. And we solidify it because it gives us a sense of belonging, safety, protection, assuredness, knowing. It gives us all of this stuff which is a temporary assemblage of pieces of understanding that will not hold. They will start at some point to fly away. And what will remain is the underlying isness of the person we are. I have been getting so lost on some level in terms of worldly grounding. But the corollary of that is I am becoming very found in my sense of being. It's a shifting ground that is really powerful. And I wish on one level you all experience it, and on another level you better do your homework. Be prepared. Be prepared, because when they start to dismantle all of the knowledge and the truth and the understanding and the familiarity of your being, you as a person, the thing that coheres and thinks it knows and understands goes away with it. And either you are gracious in the letting go, or you are suffering in it, or a mixture of the two. The ride I am experiencing now is totally new to me and totally unknown, and yet it's part and parcel of what I've been doing for the last 50 years of sitting. It is an outgrowth of all that I've been doing. You know, we keep talking about the meditative path to liberation and awakening and clarity of awareness and all of that stuff, which is wonderful in terms of our projection of it. Oh, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, it will feel like this. Forget that. Everything you expect it to be is just your mind trying to stay comfortable. You're just trying to stay in a known space, and it's going to be taken away. Known space, known thought patterns, things that make you feel secure will go away. And either you will trust that or you won't. If you don't, you will dive back into the false securities of day-to-day life. And you will do it feeling a little bit like a fraud, because you know you're keeping stuff out. Once you've embarked on this spiritual journey, it has an extraordinary trajectory. It is everything you were told it was, but it is really that. It's not the gentle, easy, sweet version, or maybe it is for some people. I'm going to describe this only from this perspective and this set of eyes and body form and mind. From this person's perspective, the journey is so shockingly disruptive to any sense of solidity and security and safety that all you can do is let go. And every time you've let go, you will discover there's a whole new underpinning to that you also have to let go of. And then another one. And you go, but that's the last fragment of me. And they're going, yep, that's the last fragment, except they're really lying, because there's another fragment and another one. And you will let it go, and you will let it go, and then things will start to happen. And I can only tell you, today's class was very instructive. Not new, not different, but just so much of what it is. And I really felt the privilege of being a sensitive channel to higher truth, working its way down and through the psychic system into your psychic system, and doing profound alterations in your inner space. It is working you. I am the tool through which that is happening. There is no ownership, because there is no one to own it. And the more this occurs, the more you are going to arrive at a space in yourself that you need to own. You don't need to, but you're setting upon the path of ownership, of letting it all go, of being and that force and that channel that will prove to be a service of higher truth and love and liberation and freedom for people around you. And you will have to figure out how to make it work by paying attention to that very space that wants to flood through you and free you. In helping others, you will find your own freedom. I wish I could speak to the day-to-day of this, but it's so strange. I can't remember what I'm supposed to do today. I have to write things down. I have to really fight for the memory. I have to rely on my wife, who's going through so much of the same stuff that we're both like, how does the world function? And yet it's really interesting. I somehow remember that after I brush my teeth, I clean the toothbrush and I put it in a little holder because it's electric now. And then I wash my eyes with an eye wash because it really helps. And I have this list of things I do, and it knows what to do next. And if my mind disappears completely, I just stand there. I just stare at all the stuff on my desktop, on the sink top, and I go, And then the thing that needs to happen kind of announces itself. And life keeps happening like that. It's certain patterning that allows it to flow. But if the pattern gets disrupted, I just go, I don't have a clue. And then it happens again. I was driving to my grandson's birthday party yesterday, and I didn't really know where all the streets went. I know it sounds like losing your mind or Alzheimer's or something like that. It could be. I mean, again, I've made a pitch for that. That everything I'm talking about has nothing to do with spirituality. It's just old age and Alzheimer's. But if it's not that, what I found is the streets knew how to find themselves. And everything worked fine. And then I went to pick up his birthday cake at a market, and they said, there's a woman who didn't speak English very well, and she kept saying, it's not there. And it was that BB. I didn't know what she was talking about. And she had to bring someone else to tell me, and they said the cake didn't get made at their store. They had to have it made at another store right back where I had started this journey from. And now it's late, and I got really angry. Like really angry, filled with anger at the incompetence and the frustration of what the world is. And I go, I never get angry like that. But there I was, raging. I did not at anybody. I didn't rage at anybody. I just filled with the incompetence of the world and the lack of skill that we have to help each other moving through time and space. It gets so, we become so insufficient on so many levels. But just got back in my car, and I started driving, and I turned on the radio, and the Metropolitan Opera was on, and I love opera, and it was beautiful. I started thinking about my grandfather who had Alzheimer's, and how much he loved opera, and how much that connected me, and suddenly I felt like I was my grandfather and myself and my children and my grandchildren, and I had this vastness of being, and this next supermarket appeared. And I walked inside, and there's my cake. And I went and put it in the car, and I drove to the party, and it was supposed to rain, so my son had ordered a blow-up bouncy tent, but it was too wet outside, so he emptied out the entire living room and put the bouncy house in the living room. And there are like 20 kids running and screaming and yelling and bouncing and going down a slide in the house. And I'm going, this is crazy and totally wonderful. And I put the cake down, and I became one with the party. A little boy was sitting on the toilet, and he needed someone to wipe his butt. I didn't know this kid from Adam, and there was nobody around to wipe his butt. So I went, okay. I go wipe his butt, and I, help clean him up and flush the toilet. And my experience at the party is entering the chaos and becoming one with it, and it felt so alive. And then I got really tired, and so I just sat down. And all these other people are talking and all this stuff is going on, and I'm just there in a still pointed quietude. It's like what needs to be is. It occurs. I was on the airplane the other night, and there was a documentary on Bill Murray. I don't know if any of you have seen it.
Saw it.
Yeah, which I love beyond belief. Nobody will believe this, it's called. And I don't really know Bill Murray. I love his movies. Interesting thing, one of my friends is Danny Rubin, who's the writer of Groundhog Day, and so he has a connection to Bill, and I have through that a sense of connection. My son Josh just wrote a VR video game of Groundhog Day, so there's a line of something, but I didn't know the Zen quality of this person. And I watched the movie, and I just was inspired. But in the middle of it, they show a scene from a movie called Meatballs, in which he's trying to tell a group of kids who are, I didn't see the movie, but in the shot that they had, these kids were about to play baseball. I think it was baseball, but whatever they seemed totally ill-prepared. And he gave a speech saying, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you win. It doesn't matter if you lose. It doesn't matter. Just get out there and play. Just get out there and enjoy the life that you have. And it's funny because on the airplane, that was the message I needed to hear. And my life is working like that. The message I need to hear comes through the back of the seat in front of me, with Bill Murray telling me it just doesn't matter. And I went, wow, that's really true. It really just doesn't matter. It's going to be this and it's going to be that. It's going to be wonderful, it's going to be terrible. Everything happens. It just keeps happening. And it's okay. It all works out. And that leads me to another story, which I should tell you. I'm going to tell you because it's the beginning of more transformation. On Tuesday afternoon, a realtor in New York called me. I talked to her about a house that I really liked, and she told me that it had just sold, but there was a possibility it sold to a developer, that if I came out there the next day and saw the house, I might be able to make a counter offer and get the house. And if it hadn't been a developer, if it was another family or something, I would never have done it. But a developer, I thought, I can do this. So I said to Blanche, honey, we have to go to New York tonight. We have to get on the red eye and fly to New York. Normally, under any normal circumstances, Blanche would have gone, are you out of your mind? We're supposed to go in 2 weeks. I said, we have one shot at this house. We need to get on a plane. So at just before midnight, giving up everything that we had to do this week, we hopped on a plane with very little sleep, drove up to this place, Rhinebeck, which is very close to where my son has just bought a house and where we've been looking. And we went to see this house with our realtor, who I really love. And it is a wow factor house. It's like, wow. It's got 16 acres, a pool, a view of these amazing trees, and in the back, the Catskill Mountains, out has massive sky and sunsets like you wouldn't believe. And the house is beautifully put together. It's full of light, but it doesn't have room for our stuff. It doesn't have room for our paintings, our artwork, our spiritually driven collection of things. It's, in a sense, confining. The outside is massive and beautiful, but the inside is very linear and not big enough. And it's one of the most beautiful houses. And I kept walking through it, trying to feel, how can I make this work? And I couldn't feel it. And Blanche tried, and there were just little stupid things like the counter at the sink was beautiful with the view out the window of, this massive view, but there was no cupboard to put the dishes, and the stuff where after you've washed your dishes. Nothing practical. It was in a cupboard down the way. You would have to wash all your dishes and put them there. And I kept going, that doesn't work. That doesn't feel right. And it was one little thing after another, like these tiny little things that just kind of didn't feel right. So we went and looked at some other houses because we were there, and there were a list of houses that we had that we were going to look at in 2 weeks. And the other houses, everything had good and bad. One house was very spacious and big, but very chintzy. It was not built right. Another house was very luxurious, but it wasn't like well situated. It wasn't us. It just didn't feel like us. We decided the next morning to go back to the first house that we had come to see, the Wow House. And we drive up, and I'm now planning how to make it work. And it's a very expensive house, more than we should be paying. And when I'm looking at the whole house, again, think I can add a little here and I can add a little there, but realizing if I start adding all that, my finances, my accountant said, Bruce, if you want to live another 20 years or 30 years, you're on a fixed income. You have you made money, but that's going to go. It's only going to go. So buying a really big house with huge taxes, which these houses have, like $30,000 a year, and taxes are 40. And I went, it just felt irrational and irresponsible to buy this wow factor house. But all I could think of is you guys would come visit, you would go, wow, and you would all go, this is so wonderful, and this is such a great place, and you would have felt really great. But by the end of the time there, I just felt, okay, I think I can do it. I think I can make it work. We'll do something. We'll add here. We'll add there. And we left, and Blanche said, let's go look at this one other house that I had looked at online. That it was a very traditional house. It was a little odd. It had charcoal gray, light charcoal gray walls and kind of a white molding on everything. And it was empty, completely empty. It had been redone. And I was kind of hesitant. But we drove to this house, and again, from the outside, it's like every other house in Rhinebeck. It's a front porch with little pillars and like rocking chair spaces, and it was a 2-story house, and it was very traditional. It had zero wow factor, zero. Even more interestingly, it looked exactly like the house that my son just bought, like a replica. And I took a look at it. Oh God, okay. So let's go in the house. And we walk in the house, and I said, I was almost like teary-eyed. It felt like I was home. And I didn't. Why that? Why this? Why would this feel like home? And as I walked through the house, I belonged in every room. And I hate houses where you walk in with a staircase, but this had the most beautiful staircase. It kind of led you in and up. Literally, like in and up. And I just went, huh, okay. And as we walked through the house, it became more and more open. So that the great room, as they call it, with the kitchen, was this beautiful, big room with fireplace and views out to this very big, it's an 8-acre place, so it had a big backyard. And I just went, what am I feeling here? What is this experience? No one's going to walk in this house and go, wow, nobody. Why? Who's this person, Bruce, that needs a wow? Who is it? Where does that come from? When I was 10 years old, I wanted to own a castle in Scotland, and I have ever since wanted to have a castle in Scotland. I have had very nice homes throughout my life, this being one of them. And this is a rental, but I've lived in these wonderful spaces. My house in LA is built by Blanche, designed by Blanche, and it is perfect. But it's time to move on, and I'm waiting for the space to show itself, and this house said, welcome, welcome. I could not deny that welcome. It is a deep inner, I don't know what to say about it, but it's something that we all experience in class. There is this thing that happens when you know you're home, when you know you're where you belong. It is not necessarily dressed all that well. It is not necessarily filled with wow. It's like, so we made an offer on this trip to New York for the house we had not expected to buy and that I didn't ever imagine I would want to live in. And it's been accepted, and I believe, if all goes according to plan, we will live 15 minutes from my son and my daughter-in-law and my grandchildren, and we will have a different life in another world that means transformation for me, for Blanche, for my family, and for you. Because we will no longer be having the West Coast class, we will be having the New York class. And there's a big group of you guys on the New York side of things who I think will be happy that we're coming, maybe, and who will leave you sad, probably. But I can only tell you that what I felt today teaching was how much this universal force loves you, is present for you, and is surging into you so that you will have and can have the capacity to move forward on your own steam. I remember when Rudy died, thinking, how is this going to happen? How do I go forward? And then I realized it was the only way to go forward. I needed to be on my own terms. I needed to figure it out for myself. The support system that this is a kind of gift and a training ground, but it only trains you to go out and do it, not to come and sit and get trained. So that is what's working here. And I know I will do my best to come back here and to offer classes for those of you who want, what you call them, refreshers, or in whatever you want to call it. And also because I cannot tell you how much I love you guys. I cannot tell you how deep it goes, how meaningful it is, how real it is. And somehow or another, we have to maintain connection. This house that we're in has lots of extra rooms, and we will have pull-out beds in every one of them. And it even has a downstairs, big, huge downstairs, and it's all thermal heat. And I can do a media room downstairs, but for some reason they also put in a bathroom with a full shower. And so I can also make it a room that has pull-out beds. And then I have a classroom upstairs that is about a little bigger than this. And it will also be a place that you can pull out a bed. We have guest bedrooms. You guys want to come east, you have rooms to stay in. It will be, you are invited to be part of our life. And I know this is going to be a change, and I think this will continue, this practice will continue, this teaching will continue, although I have to be honest, there is a part of me that feels it too could fall away. I am prepared for so much transformation that the need to continue this may not be there. On the other hand, if there's a demand and if people show up, I think it will happen. But I have no clue. I don't need it. I do not need it. But it's not about me, obviously. And none of this is about us. It's about becoming that which serves, that which brings itself to others. That's who we are. That's what this is about. If you think it's all about you, then you're going to get, you're going to be very surprised when they take you away. Literally dismantle you. You will not be prepared for that. And you will think you were asking for that, but if it's about you, you're not going to like it. If you are here to be one with all there is, open up and let go of the thing that separates you from that. Because you are nothing but, if you will, a particular element in a very vast scheme of things. And that particular element is in itself one with the whole, not separate from the whole. And once you understand that oneness and become that oneness, you will have a life that will be the life you were born to have. It is an extraordinary gift to be alive, and it just doesn't matter. Live it out. Live it out. Enjoy it. Helen Keller said, if it's not a great adventure, it's nothing. It's nothing. You have the right to make it an adventure, to undergo transformative change, to uproot everything you know. I mean, for Blanche and I to leave California, we've lived here longer than we've ever lived anywhere, to let go of the house that she designed and created with trees that are all matured and beyond belief beautiful, and the house that has arrived at its premium form in a way we're going to say goodbye to. Saying goodbye to this house, which is another unbelievably beautiful space with a view that is incomparable. And saying goodbye, I'm telling you, it's nothing but training. It's training because at some moment you are going to have to let go of the view you have, of the house you have, of the friends and the family and the lovers you have. You are going to have to let go, and the training ground is now. Let go, let go, let go. It doesn't mean you won't have enormous grieving, sadness, fear, attachment, love, all that stuff. It's all part of the human equation. You will experience it all, and I do. And it really unsettles me that so much feeling is coming up. Feeling like, I think I'm feeling like a man who's dying, who's looking at life through the lens of his last days. That's what it feels like. And loving, loving, loving everything I see and touch. And grieving the loss of it. And yet, as far as I know, I'm healthy and I'm still going to be around. On the other hand, it's training. It's training ground. It's preparation. We're all heading in that direction. You can back into it. You can go eyes closed. You can pretend it's not happening. You can watch TV day and night and then just suddenly die. That's fine. But I'm telling you, the big journey that we are all on is a journey that is directive and is aided and helped by the forces of the universe. It loves you for being born. It loves you for having lived and for living in the moment. And it will help you out back into your vast, larger self if you would like it to. If you get lost in all of this, then you will back into it, and that has a big journey of its own. One way or another, you have to turn this over to the what is. So, a lot of information here. Part of it's spiritual, actually all in a sense spiritual, but all spiritual related to day-to-day life. I repeat Rudy endlessly saying, this is your spiritual life. I mean that deeply. This is your spiritual life. You work it out in the midst of this manifested form, and you figure out how to be this exquisite being surrounded by matter, interacting with matter, and then dissolving matter, and letting it go, and being the thing that doesn't go away. That's what we're learning. That's what we're doing. That's called a spiritual life. That's what we're doing. So, onward. I love you guys. I mean, I really love you guys. I don't know if you can feel it. I hope you can feel it. It's so powerful. And I am here to help you and serve you, and I will be here to help you and serve you, even if I'm 3,000 miles away, or I can tell you in the most remarkable way, Rudy remains here to serve me, and he's been dead for 50 years. Or something like 40-some years. It doesn't go away. Help is there. And the love I feel from you, I also know I will carry with me where I go. So thank you. Any questions?
You talked about kind of sadness and letting go, and I guess I've been feeling some of that too. I was just wondering if I'm feeling kind of maybe a false separateness from the world, and that's sad, or changes going on and giving that up and stuff.
You know, I can't answer directly exactly because you know, we're so interconnected, and what's happening culturally now, politically, environmentally, is starting to weave a hold over all of us, and some engage it more, some engage it less, but we are in a collective mind, really, and we're all going through stuff together. And I can extrapolate it out a little bit and think, yes, you are really experiencing the collective sadness and grieving of a world in upheaval, because it is. It's like unbelievable, kind of what's going on. Not like it hasn't been there before, but in our own country, with our own, you know, leadership being so devoid of quality and core goodness, it leaves us in a very weird place. And we have to find, how do we live in a world that's kind of decomposing or disintegrating or just warming up? How do we do this? I'm going to talk about that a lot if I keep teaching and try to help people as best I can. But it's only going to get kind of scarier on some level. And at the same time, it's going to become more real. And reality is always what we seek. Reality is an imprint of everything. And when you can get to reality as opposed to the delusional states that most of us live in, reality is not always comfortable or easy, but it's true. And that trueness and that reality is like, wow, okay, this is how it is. This is how it is. You know, it's like I wanted to buy these multi-million-dollar homes, and my accountant said, Bruce, you know, you can buy it, but you may not be able to live in it long because your money will just start to disappear. That was like, you mean I can't have what I want? Why can't I have what I want? Because you can't. We're trying to make it work for you for your whole life, not just for your, you know, desire to have wow factors. So I had to bring it into reality, and when I walked into that house, it was real. It just said, I am not a wow house, I am a simple, containable house that will serve you, period. It's good as it is. Reality for each of us will be like that, day to day. We will find the thing that feels right. It may not appeal to our, in my particular case, grandiosity. It may not appeal to your image self or whatever it is that you're trying to feed, but it will appeal to the truth of you. And that when you start to feel that truth operating inside you, you'll be able to live this life that will be the true life that you were here to have. And it will feel like what it felt like when I walked in that house. Home. This is home. I don't know why it's home. It didn't look like the home I would have imagined, but this is home. And you know it because spiritually you are attuned to this finer point of experience that lets you know when you're in the right place. And you know when you're in the right place. And you are living in the right place. And when you get out of the right place, and it's easy to do, you'll know that too. It will scream at you, louder than you've ever imagined. It's going to make you so sensitive to day-to-day life that you have to get strong enough to be the feeling entity that you are and survive. Because you're going to feel stuff that's going to be more than you've ever felt before. Love, fear, compassion, hope, denial. You're going to feel all of these things, and you're going to have to go, okay, doesn't matter. You can do it. Okay. Thank you, guys. I can just tell you for the 30th time that I love you. There is class here next week. We're going to be going away, but we're here because we already went to New York. And if we hadn't gone to New York, this house would have been sold. So sometimes you have to trust those things that say, get on a plane right now. You have 4 hours. Just go. Sometimes you got to do that. And or, you know, in the nature of reality, if we hadn't gone, another house might have come on the market that would have been even better. You're never going to know. But home is home, and when you find it, that you'll know. Thank you. Blanche has some friends who are going to possibly join us a little while later for lunch from Chicago, so we may be added on to a little bit. And thank you for coming, and I'll see you next week.